Hello! It's me, Holly, and I'm going to talk to you about a book that I am writing. So I love to read. I love young adult fantasy books especially, and I actually thought I hated reading when I was a little girl. And then I went into the young adult fantasy genre and I just realized how much I love to read. And I would stay up late at night reading because I loved it so much. Ever since I was in middle school, junior high, I have wanted to write. I just didn't know how to do it. I loved the books that I read. I thought it was just a dream that it would never come true. I never really thought that I had any good stories to tell. I felt like I would read a story and be like, oh my gosh, that author is so creative. Didn't think I had anything to share. Well, things recently have changed where I feel differently now. One of the main reasons that I feel like I have a story to tell is through Wattpad. If you haven't heard of Wattpad, it is like a social media networking for authors, and basically anyone can write a story and you share it out and people read it and comment. You can write and post as you go. It made me realize like anyone can write a story. There are so many stories to tell, and yeah, there might be similarities between other stories, but it's still a different story. As I was reading through Wattpad, I started having a story in my mind that I really wanted to read and I couldn't find it anywhere. And the more books I read, the more the story just kept hitting at me and just being like, why can't I find this story? Like, it's gotta be somewhere around here, but it's really, really hard for me to find. And then lastly, the author Susan Dennard has been a huge push in my writing recently. Susan Dennard wrote the Truth Witch series, but she writes to writers as well. She has a blog online. It really goes into how she writes, how other people can write books that are really good about writing, and it just was amazing. She has helped me figure out how to get past the slump that I was in from writing. I'm like determined to write a book. It gets hard sometimes and I'm not always as diligent as I should be, but I'm now going to talk about some of the challenges that I've had and kind of my whole process of writing so far. So today is Monday, June 19th, 2017. I have had this idea in my mind for probably a year and a half. So in March of 2017, that's when I found Susan Dennard and how she writes and her writing process. And in her writing process, she talked about how she grabs a notebook, any kind of notebook. This is my notebook. So she has a notebook that she uses to brainstorm her ideas, and she said how helpful it was to really write things down, and even if you're not going to use it, it's just helpful to write it down because then you can move past it and work through it and get forward into your writing process. Once I read that from her blog, I grabbed a notebook the next day and I started writing. When I say write, really I was just brainstorming and I was literally writing things down. Sometimes I think that means typing on the computer and writing out the book, but no, I was literally writing out things on the notebook. It was really good. Like that first month, I actually, a lot changed from my story. I don't want to do spoilers, but it is a young adult fantasy story. Every day I would write consistently and it was going really, really good. Once April hit, I was having a really hard time. A lot happened in my personal life and it just became not the priority anymore. And so I stopped writing and now I'm back on it. One of the reasons why I'm back writing is because summer just started. I have so much more time. I really want to commit to writing this summer and write every single day and get further into this book. This video is to really go through this process, and I have no idea where it will lead. I might end up completely trashing this, or I might end up moving forward with this and maybe reaching out to an agent. I don't even know, but all I want to do right now is write the story and finish it and fall in love with a book that is in my mind that I haven't been able to find elsewhere. Now I just want to go through kind of the things that I have done since March that's helped me, because there have definitely been times where I've gotten stuck. So if you are writing at all, these tips might help you. I started writing this book a year and a half ago. An idea popped in my head, and so I started writing and I started understanding the backstory, and I think that's really where things started to come alive, is I had a history and a backstory about a character, and from that I was able to really dive into what was going on in the current story and what would happen at the end. Originally I had it set on this Earth and like at this time period. But in March, I wanted to create an actual fantasy book. I kind of put the two together and it was like so magical. So that was the biggest thing that really changed from my novel in the past year and a half, is really changing the setting and the time of my book. I'm really excited about it. From that, I've just really tried to understand the characters that I have in the book. I've tried to figure out their motives and like the whole purpose of my story. So just really like having this book has really helped me to just like write things down. And one of the things I loved from Susan Denner that she suggested was to write out like your outline of like the events that you have in your story. She did it diagonally, and I actually really like that, because if you do it like, you know, vertically, you kind of think that that top one is first and then the next one's second. But by doing it diagonally, I was able to figure out, like, I wrote everything down that I wanted to have happen, and then from there I numbered them. Like, oh, well, this has to happen first. But then as I would go through, I'd be like, no, that can't happen first. This has to happen first. And it helped me know what I should do in the beginning, like the introduction. And that was where things started to get messy, because I just didn't know how to set it up, how to make everything work so well and cohesively, and I'm still struggling on that. Another thing that helped me was to do a backwards outline, and that was even better. Like, by doing that, it allowed me to really go into some other plot lines that I wasn't expecting from my book. The backwards outline was very helpful. I had other ideas, but it's still, I'm still stuck. Probably the most difficult part right now is the world building. I love stories that have all these different creatures, these different cultures, and different lands and parts. Like, it's like just an amazing different world. I'm still trying to develop mine. It's very difficult because I'm so interested in the story, and part of me thinks that if I continue through my outlines, then what I need in my world will pop up. But I also think, like, well, what if I just kind of create my world and then the stories from that? I don't know. I don't know which way to go. I've also been just trying to figure out, like, how much outline do I do before I actually start, like, writing this out. Whenever I try and figure this out and look at other authors, they just always kind of say how each person is different. If I was to really go into how I am as a person, I am a very much outline person, organized. I need to know what's going to happen next. So I think I'm probably going to be outlining for a very long time. And just to make me feel better, J.K. Rowling outlined for 5 years before she really started writing her first book. So outlining is pretty important when you're creating a whole new world. The other piece that I have noticed is very important in books is just that conflict. When there's just a very clear conflict between the two characters in a story, you just have to keep reading. You're just like, what is gonna happen? What is gonna happen? That's another big thing that's changed from my main character. I kind of imagined her to be like this sweet, innocent girl, but then I realized that if I wanted to have more conflict, she needed to be someone who was a little bit more stubborn. She wasn't very trusting towards others, and it caused so much more conflict, and I love it. It's so exciting. Like, all these changes are so different from what I originally planned, but so much better. Hopefully just write every day, and my idea is that I'm going to update these videos monthly so that you can follow along and tell me the struggles that you're having or things that are helping you when you're writing a book. And of course, if you have any advice or questions, please comment below and I can use those for my next video as well. But I hope your story is going just as well or even better than mine, and that we can kind of go through this together. I will talk to you later. Have a good night.